Julian Assange has been charged in the U.S. Let's take a look at why this is happening. What's in the news with stories on government waste ×2, feeding the homeless, sterilizing women, secession news, and Big Brother. And yet another bad cop on a cop killing a security guard who was just doing his job. This episode is brought to you by ZenCash, now known as Horizen, a cryptocurrency that infuses privacy, anonymity, and security done right. Also brought to you by SmartCash, an easy-to-use, fast, and secure cryptocurrency that supports everyday use for everyday transactions.
Welcome to The Lava Flow, channeling the flow of information to the libertarian, anarcho-capitalist, voluntarist, and agorist community. Find us at thelavaflow.com. Here's your host, Roger Paxton.
Thank you for joining me this week. From the state that is the home of the Belknap Mill built at Laconia in 1823, that is the oldest unaltered brick knitting mill in America, this is the show that will bring you the people, places, and events that everyone in the Liberty Rebellion needs to know. You can catch me on Twitter at @TheLavaFlowPod. This is episode 112, Julian Assange, and it's Tuesday, November 20th, 2018, Thanksgiving week in the U.S. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. When there have already been more than 848 people killed by police this year, and the United States debt clock shows us at more than $21,747,400 million in debt. What's wrestling my jimmies this week? You're about to find out. Let's do it to it. This story broke as an accident, albeit an accident caused by government incompetence. But it's apparent now that the United States Justice Department is filing criminal charges against the WikiLeaks founder, Julian Assange. This disclosure came in a filing in a case unrelated to Assange. Assistant U.S. Attorney Kellen S. Dwyer, urging a judge to keep a matter sealed, wrote, "Due to the sophistication of the defendant and the publicity surrounding the case, no other procedure is likely to keep confidential the fact that Assange has been charged." Later, Dwyer wrote the charges would need to remain sealed until Assange is arrested. Now remember, this is a case that had nothing to do with Assange. Dwyer, though, is also assigned to the WikiLeaks case. People familiar with the matter said that what Dwyer was disclosing was true, but unintentional. On Thursday evening, Seamus Hughes, the deputy director of the program on extremism at George Washington University, who's known for scrubbing court filings, posted about this apparent error on Twitter, which first brought it to the attention of reporters. Some people believe this was simply a copy and paste error, and that the Assange indictment was used as a template for the unrelated case. A Justice Department spokesman declined to say on Thursday what led to the inadvertent disclosure. It was made in a recent unsealed filing in an apparently unrelated sex crimes case charging a man named Siatu Suleiman Kokayu with coercing and enticing an underage person to engage in unlawful sexual activity. Mr. Kokayi was charged in early August, and on August 22nd, prosecutors filed a 3-page document laying out boilerplate arguments for why his case at that time needed to remain sealed. Joshua Stweeve, a spokesman for the United States Attorney's Office for the Eastern District of Virginia, said, "The court filing was made in error. That was not the intended name for this filing." Well, no shit. But what does this mean? Is Assange really secretly indicted by the U.S.? According to the New York Times, a person familiar with the Assange case said that the Justice Department has secretly filed criminal charges against Assange. Top Justice Department officials told prosecutors over the summer that they could start drafting a complaint against Mr. Assange, current and former law enforcement officials have said. Mr. Assange has been in prosecutors' sights for years because of WikiLeaks' publication of thousands of secret government documents. Mr. Assange and his upstart website rose to prominence when Chelsea Manning, a low-ranking Army intelligence analyst, handed over thousands of classified Pentagon and State Department documents to WikiLeaks, which began publishing them in 2010. The Justice Department has been studying how to charge Mr. Assange or WikiLeaks with some kind of criminal offense since the site began publishing its trove of secret military and diplomatic documents. Prosecutors, for example, toyed with the idea of charging Mr. Assange as a conspirator in Miss Manning's crime of unauthorized disclosure of secrets related to national defense. and it eventually became public that a grand jury in the Eastern District of Virginia was investigating people with links to WikiLeaks. Their dilemma came down to a question they found no clear answer to. Is there any legal difference between what WikiLeaks was doing, at least in that era, from what traditional news media organizations like the New York Times do in soliciting and publishing information they obtain that the government wants to keep secret? And of course, there is no difference. Just because the New York Times gets a press badge to go to the White House does not make it any more of a legitimate press agency than something like WikiLeaks. The First Amendment says nothing about the freedom of the press only applying to those agencies the government themselves deems as press. Talk about chilling implications. If that were the case, then Trump could say that his nemesis, CNN, is no longer considered press and not covered by the First Amendment. And such organizations, including the Times, have published many news articles based on documents that WikiLeaks published starting in 2010, including tons of logs of significant combat events in the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq, and diplomatic cables leaked by Miss Manning, and the Democratic emails in the 2016 elections that were hacked by Russia. The debate over whether to charge Mr. Assange continued under the Trump administration and was being accelerated by former Attorney General Jeff Sessions, imagine that, according to former government officials involved in the discussions about whether Mr. Assange qualified as a journalist. And this is just yet another reason to chalk Sessions up to being an evil asshat. What are these secret qualifications it takes to be a journalist these days? And who is that decision maker? Barry Pollock, an American lawyer representing Mr. Assange, denounced the apparent development. He said, "The news that criminal charges have apparently been filed against Mr. Assange is even more troubling than the haphazard manner in which that information has been revealed. The government bringing criminal charges against someone for publishing truthful information is a dangerous path for a democracy to take." And now, we are at the crux of the issue. Julian Assange and WikiLeaks posted nothing that was untrue, going all the way back to Chelsea Manning's revelations and even before. Many of the same things he's posted have been covered by every major news agency in the world, but I don't see any indictments for those agencies. Now, I've been asked, why do I talk about Assange a lot on this show? Do I consider him a hero? Yeah, kind of. But what has he and WikiLeaks revealed to us over the past years? So WikiLeaks started out in 2006 with their first leak about an apparent assassination order signed by the head of the Islamic Court Union of Somalia. Then in 2007, WikiLeaks revealed the operating procedures document for Camp Delta at Guantanamo Bay. This release revealed some of the restrictions placed over detainees at the camp, including the designation of some prisoners as off-limits to the International Committee of the Red Cross, something that the U.S. military had in the past repeatedly denied. They have also revealed the secret Bibles of Scientology, Sarah Palin's Yahoo email account contents, remember that one? Reports on extrajudicial executions by Kenyan police, and the membership list for the far-right British National Party in 2008. And then in 2009, WikiLeaks released almost 7,000 Congressional Research Service reports, the controversial ClimateGate emails, internet website blacklist censorship lists from Australia, Thailand, and Denmark, Bilderberg Group meeting reports, toxic dumping in Africa, a nuclear accident in Iran, and 570,000 intercepts of pager messages sent on the day of the September 11th attacks, including communications between Pentagon officials and the New York City Police Department. But WikiLeaks really burst into the mainstream in 2010 when it published those secret material documents about American military activity in Iraq and Afghanistan over the course of several months. In April, it released a graphic, decrypted video from Iraq of the Baghdad airstrike where a U.S. helicopter killed 12 to 18 people, including 2 Reuters staff. In July of that year, it published a 6-year archive of classified military documents about the war in Afghanistan, called the Afghan War Diary. Those documents detail individual incidents, including friendly fire and civilian casualties. The group released a second cache of secret reports, this time about the Iraq War, in October of 2010. The next month, it published 250,000 confidential American diplomatic cables that offered a look at backroom bargaining and really embarrassed the United States. Mr. Assange was a persistent problem for the Obama administration, releasing embarrassing documents from the United States and other countries. Meanwhile, President Trump, during his campaign, repeatedly expressed glee over WikiLeaks' release of confidential emails from the Democratic National Committee and the Clinton campaign, even after American officials said the emails had been given to WikiLeaks by hackers working for Russian intelligence. Now look, there have been so many revelations of information by WikiLeaks that I've barely scratched the surface here. But needless to say, they have revealed information that has been hidden and kept secret from us for more than a decade. They've provided a hugely valuable journalistic service to all of us, and none of it would have happened without Julian Assange. In my opinion, we owe him a huge debt of gratitude and our support. Have you subscribed to the Lava Flow on iTunes or any mobile device yet? Then what's wrong with you? Go to thelavaflow.com/subscribe so you don't miss a minute of the show. And while you're subscribing, make sure to leave me a 5-star rating and review the show to help others find our podcast. thelavaflow.com/subscribe.
It's time to shake up your podcast feed, folks, by subscribing to Lions of Liberty, the only libertarian variety show out there. Spend Mondays with me, Mark Claire, as I feature in-depth interviews with great names in the libertarian community and fun roundtable discussions.
Electric Liberty Land with me, Brian McWilliams, every Wednesday, your weekly dose of comedy, culture, and liberty.
And Felony Fridays with me, John Odermatt, where I expose injustice in the broken criminal justice system.
Find us on iTunes, Stitcher, and at lionsofliberty.com.
This is Chris Spangle, and I am the host of We Are Libertarians, which you can find in iTunes, Google Play, or at wearelibertarians.com. We are a podcast that brings you all of the irreverence that modern politics deserves by examining current events from a libertarian perspective. So please, check us out at wearelibertarians.com.
What's in the news? The news you need to know from a libertarian perspective.
In government waste news, the U.S. Postal Service lost $3.9 billion last year, while UPS and FedEx are doing quite well. The U.S. Postal Service, USPS, finished fiscal year 2018 nearly $4 billion in the red, a whopping 44% increase in losses from the previous year, despite the fact that the post office saw revenue increase by more than $1 billion at the same time. In its annual fiscal report released Wednesday, the USPS attributed more than $2 billion of the deficit to an ongoing volume loss, largely the result of fewer people using the government's mail system for sending letters, of 3.6%. The rest was the result of increased payments for pensions and retiree health benefits. Far from being an aberration, fiscal year 2018, which ended on September 30th, is a sign of things to come as well. Without changes to how it operates, the USPS will continue to post losses at an accelerating rate. Postmaster General Megan Brennan tells government executive, "Simply put, we cannot generate revenue or cut enough costs to pay our bills. So you know who's going to pay their bills for them. That's right, you and me." What's really stunning is that the USPS managed to lose so much money in a year when income from shipping packages jumped by 10% and overall revenue increased by 1.5%. But that wasn't enough to make up for an increase of $896 million in personnel costs. The post office probably would have gone bankrupt long ago if it were a private entity. FedEx and UPS would not exist today if they were posting annual losses of $4 billion. At the very least, it would be forced to make immediate, significant changes to how it operates. The service staggers onward, piling up ever larger amounts of debt, more than $13 billion at the end of fiscal year 2018, solely because it is a government enterprise. Instead, the only change the Postal Service will make is to increase the cost of using it. The cost of a stamp will jump by 5% in 2019, the USPS announced Wednesday. Other mailing services will see prices hiked by 2.5%. Those changes will generate an estimated $1.7 billion in additional revenue. Look, something like this only makes sense in a government bureaucracy. Keep your staff and expenses the way it is and raise prices when you're bleeding money. The USPS would have gone out of business more than a century ago if Lysander Spooner had been allowed to compete with them with his American letter mail company that he began in 1844, but of course they shut him down. In Who Would Feed the Homeless news, a coordinated wave of Kansas City Health Department inspectors simultaneously shut down large picnics across the city Sunday that were serving food to homeless and hungry people. On Monday, a city health official said they trashed the food out of concern for public safety. Public safety? Seriously? The conflict between the food giveaway and health codes comes amid a cold rain that signaled the approach of winter, renewing an emotional debate over how a city manages its homeless population, many battling addictions and mental illness. It looked ugly Sunday. Home-cooked chili, stacks of foil-wrapped sandwiches, vats of soup, and other food prepared by volunteers with Free Hot Soup Kansas City were dumped in bags and soaked in bleach to make sure no one could go back to try to recover it. Kansas City Director of Health Rex Archer said, "There is no question that feeding the homeless is critical. There are 43 organizations, not including Free Hot Soup KC, that have permits to do it in a safe way." And there it is, folks. The government is here to help you, and the only way they can do that is to give you a fucking permit to feed the homeless. This is all about their power, not helping the people who need it. Fuck Rex Arthur in the neck with his permit. 28-year-old Nellie McCool of Marion, who started the first Free Hot Soup gatherings 3 years ago after the Royals won the World Series, said, "We are intending to come back. They can expect us to fight for this right to share." Good for her, and good for all of these people who have risked their lives and their fortunes to help people in need. And if you don't think they're risking their lives, then you haven't been paying attention to all of the innocent people who have been killed by men with badges and guns for not complying. ZenCash has changed their name to Horizen to better represent their transition from a pure cryptocurrency to a pioneering platform that protects consumer data. They're focusing more on the wider vision of what ZenCash was all about. The new name, Horizen, reinforces that the project is forward-thinking and visionary and will broaden the horizons of what the community can accomplish in the world using the platform. Not only is it one of the best privacy-oriented cryptocurrencies with zero-knowledge technology built into it, but they also have private chat over their network. And soon, Horizen will include the ability to publish information and go anywhere on the web, all with complete privacy. They are working toward the day when anyone will be able to build privacy-based applications on the Horizen platform and generate income from them. This will allow Horizen to bring thousands of real-life services to the community. Services that provide freedom, utility, and privacy. The unique spelling of Horizen is a nod to their heritage and recognizes that they remain committed to the vision that their project was built upon. Their coin and ticker symbol remains Zen. So ZenCash is now Horizen, and Horizen is bringing privacy to life. You can learn more at horizen.global. That's HORIZEN.global. In Socialist Canada news, Indigenous women were being kept from seeing their newborn babies until they agreed to sterilization. Alyssa Lombard, an associate with Maurice Law, the first Indigenous-owned national law firm in Canada, said, "In the throes of labor, they would be approached, harassed, and coerced into signing these consent forms. The women would be told that they could not leave until their tubes were tied, cut, or cauterized," she added, or that they could not see their babies until they agreed. At least 60 Indigenous women are pursuing a class action lawsuit launched last year, alleging they underwent forced sterilizations over the past 20 to 25 years in Saskatchewan. Each woman is claiming about $7 million in damages. In a statement to The Current following Tuesday's broadcast, Indigenous Services Minister Jane Philpott described forced sterilizations as a serious violation of human rights. No shit. The statement said, "We all have a role to play to ensure that Indigenous patients receive quality health care free of prejudice, including ensuring medical professionals receive cultural safety training as laid out in the Truth and Reconciliation Commission's calls to action." Lombard said the case is being taken against the physicians involved, the Saskatchewan Health Authority, the province of Saskatchewan, and the Government of Canada. Dr. Yvonne Boyer, a Métis lawyer and now a senator for Ontario, called on the Senate this week to study the scope of the issue nationally. She said, If it's happening in Saskatoon, it has happened in Regina. It's happening in Winnipeg. It's happened where there's a high population of Indigenous women. Look, when someone else is paying your healthcare bills, then someone else has the final say in your healthcare issues, period. Single-payer healthcare is not about helping people. It is about their ability to control outcomes in your life or your death. In more government waste news, a new report from Brown University is aiming to provide a close estimate of the cost of the overall cost to the U.S. government of its myriad post-9/11 wars and assorted global wars on terror. The estimate is that $5.933 trillion has been spent through fiscal year 2019. This is, of course, vastly higher than official figures, owing to the Pentagon trying to oversimplify the costs into simply overseas contingency operations. It's only when one considers the cost of medical and disability care for soldiers and future such costs, along with things like the interest on the extra money borrowed for the wars, that the true cost of the wars become clear. That sort of vast expenditure is only the costs and obligations of the wars so far, and with little sign of them ending, they are only going to grow. In particular, a generation of wars is going to further add to the medical costs for veterans being consistently deployed abroad. The report says, if the U.S. continues on its current path, war spending will continue to grow. The Pentagon currently projects $80 billion in overseas contingency operations, OCO, spending through fiscal year 2023. Even if the wars are ended by 2023, the U.S. would still be on track to spend an additional $808 billion to total at least $6.7 trillion, not including future interest costs. Moreover, the costs of the war will likely be greater than this because, unless the U.S. immediately ends its deployments, the number of veterans associated with the post-9/11 wars will also grow. This entire 13-page report is really a fascinating read and is the most comprehensive report I've seen on how much these wars have actually cost us. It's worth taking a look at if you have the time. You can find a link in the show notes to this episode at thelavaflow.com/112. SmartCash is an easy-to-use, fast, and secure cryptocurrency that supports everyday use for everyday transactions. SmartCash is focused on getting the currency back into cryptocurrency, and their vision is to replace centralized fiat currencies in day-to-day life. Too many cryptos talk about being used as a currency, but they are all focused on something else and leave user experience for both merchant and customer by the wayside. SmartCash is focused on being used for business payments and POS through such features like their Instant Pay, which allows for trusted transactions in a second, powered and secured by their 20,000 user-run smart nodes. SmartCash also has a Smart Hive proposal system that is funded by the blockchain, where any user can put forth a project proposal to expand the community, ecosystem, or technology. Holding one smart equals one vote, so all users can participate in voting without having to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to run a full node. The people working on SmartCash are broken up into 6 different Smart Hive structuring teams with dedicated team members that are completely funded by the blockchain. There is no CEO, no foundation, no centralized leadership, and there is no need for outside investors to come in and compromise any deals. Check out SmartCash today at thelavaflow.com/smart to find out how they are putting the cash into SmartCash and the currency into cryptocurrency. I believe this is truly a ground floor opportunity to get in on a rising tide. Get a wallet and find an exchange to purchase SmartCash at thelavaflow.com/smart. In secession news, a Spanish audit office has ordered former Catalan leader Artur Mas and 9 others to repay 4.9 million euros, or $5.6 million, of public money spent on a non-binding independence ballot way back in 2014. The 2014 vote was a symbolic ballot by pro-independence campaigners that was declared illegal by Spain's constitutional court and came 3 years before Mas's successor, Charles Puigdemont, held an independence vote last year. The informal ballot was held after the government blocked a more formal vote, which Catalan leaders had been pushing for. Some 80% of the around 2.2 million voters backed secession, much higher than the usual 50-50 split among Catalans on independence. Moz was cited by the Audit Office, which oversees spending by political parties and within the public sector, as being the main responsible party for the payment of the fine, the office said. Moz was barred from public office for 2 years in March of 2017 for staging the informal referendum. However, he's continued to speak for the region's separation from the rest of the country. Now, like I said, this was from a vote that they held in 2014 in Catalan. I wonder how much Spain is going to charge the Catalan leaders of the 2017 vote for their hubris to declare independence from the jackbooted thugs in Spain. Only time will tell. In Big Brother news, the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration, DEA, and Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, have hidden an undisclosed number of covert surveillance cameras inside streetlights around the country, federal contracting documents reveal. According to government procurement data, the DEA has paid a Houston, Texas company called Cowboy Streetlight Concealments LLC roughly $22,000 since June of 2018 for video recording and reproducing equipment. ICE paid out about $28,000 to Cowboy Streetlight Concealments over the same period of time. It's unclear where the DEA and ICE streetlight cameras have been installed or where the next deployments will take place. ICE offices in Dallas, Houston, and San Antonio have provided funding for recent acquisitions from Cowboy Streetlight Concealment. The DEA's most recent purchase was funded by the agency's Office of Investigative Technology, which is located in Lorton, Virginia. Christy Crawford, who owns Cowboy Streetlight Concealments with her husband, a Houston police officer, said she was not at liberty to discuss the company's federal contracts and details. Yeah, I bet. She'd sure hate to lose her cushy government contracts to help them spy on all of us. She did say, though, we do streetlight concealments and camera enclosures. Basically, there's businesses out there that will build concealments for the government, and that's what we do. They specify what's best for them, and we make it, and that's about all I can probably say. However, she added, I can tell you this, things are always being watched. It doesn't matter if you're driving down the street or visiting a friend if government or law enforcement has a reason to set up surveillance. There's great technology out there to do it. Last week, the DEA issued a solicitation for concealments made to House Network's PTZ, Pan Tilt Zoom, camera, cellular modem, cellular compression device, noting that the government intended to give the contract to Obsidian Integration LLC, an Oregon company with a sizable number of federal law enforcement customers. Just a few days earlier, the Jersey City Police Department awarded a contract to Obsidian Integration for the purchase and delivery of a covert pole camera. The filing did not provide further design details. In addition to streetlights, the DEA has also placed covert surveillance cameras inside traffic barrels, a purpose-built product offered by a number of manufacturers. And as courts reported last month, the DEA operates a number of digital speed display road signs that contain automated license plate reader technology within them. Now look, if you don't think you're being watched by now, then you're either naive or a fool, and I honestly don't know which is worse. At this point, if you're in public, you have to be under the assumption that you are being recorded or watched. And hell, to be honest, if the government has reason to watch you specifically, you have to be under the assumption that you're being watched in private as well. Exercise your free market muscles by going to thelavaflow.com/support and giving a per episode donation of as little as $1 an episode, or use Bitcoin. Get exclusive content, rewards, and help the Lava Flow become fiscally neutral while providing you more content. thelavaflow.com/support.
Are those dry, boring, run-of-the-mill political talk shows putting you to sleep on your commute or at work? Are you ready for some fun?
Look no further. Blast Off with Johnny Rocket is a Seattle-based podcast expressing viewpoints of free markets, voluntary exchange, badass music, wicked banner, and of course, drinking.
The Blast Off doesn't shy from the truth, but always brings the party.
Let's rock and roll, Raylene.
Bring it on, Johnny.
You can check us out at thelaunchpadmedia.com/blastoff.
Again, that's thelaunchpadmedia.com/blastoff.
Launchpad Media. Always launching ideas in your direction. And now I'm crying over you.
is what happens when you call the cops. Say what? This is what happens when you call the cops. Come on. This is what happens when you call the cops. You get your rights violated or you all get shot. This is what happens
when police arrived after reports of a shooting over the weekend at a bar outside Chicago. Witnesses say Jamel Robertson, a 26-year-old security guard who worked there, had already subdued the alleged assailant in the parking lot, pinning him to the ground. Adam Harris, who was at Manny's Blue Bar in Robbins at the time of the incident on Sunday, said that Robertson was holding somebody on the ground with his knee in his back, with his gun in his back, when officers from neighboring Midlothian got there early Sunday. Midlothian Police Chief Daniel Delaney says that's when one of his officers encountered a subject with a gun and shot him, according to a statement given to the media. But the subject was Robertson, not the suspect in the bar shooting. On Tuesday, Illinois State Police issued a statement saying that a Midlothian police officer encountered a subject in plain black clothing with no markings readily identifying him as a security guard, armed with a gun in the west parking lot. The statement further said, according to witness statements, the Midlothian officer gave the armed subject multiple verbal commands to drop his gun and get on the ground before ultimately discharging his weapon and striking the subject. Robertson was holding a firearm that he was licensed to carry. Other witnesses and a lawsuit filed by the Robertson's family reportedly said he was wearing a hat emblazoned with the word security, Harris said. Everybody was screaming out security, and they still did their job and saw a black man with a gun and basically killed him. Another witness, Jakaya Woods, said that Robertson was wearing an orange vest and the hat marked security. She said it was absolutely clear that he was a security guard. Woods said that the Midlothian officer came out of the club's back door, weapon drawn, and ordered Robertson to get to the ground. She said, before he says ground, he fires the first shot, adding that she has not been interviewed by investigators at all. Robertson was the father of a 9-month-old son. Avante Abuz, the child's mother, said, this was going to be my baby's first Christmas with his dad, and now he's going to miss out on everything. Reverend Patricia Hill said that Robertson had dreamed of being a police officer. She said he was getting ready to train and do all that stuff, so the very people he wanted to be family with took his life. Robertson's family filed a lawsuit on Monday against the Midlothian Police Department and the officer who shot him, seeking damages of $1 million. And guess what punishment the officer has faced so far? You guessed it. He's been placed on paid administrative leave. The officer, who has not been identified, by the way, has worked for the department for 7 years and is a member of the South Suburban Emergency Response Team. The Illinois State Police's Public Integrity Task Force is investigating this incident, but I will be surprised if anything ever comes of that. Look, you guys know it's a rare situation where a cop is ever found to have been negligent in this type of situation. Interestingly, though, singer Kanye West was so deeply moved by this story that he stepped up big time to help this family out. West donated $150,000 to Robertson's family on Friday. The goal originally placed on a GoFundMe account for Robertson's family was only $10,000. Look, I'm no fan of Kanye West, but he has brought a lot of attention to police killings, and this donation is a big deal for this family. Good for you, Kanye. Of course, most people are turning this into a race issue, since the cop was white and Robertson was black. Folks, we have to stop being sucked into this nonsense. This is not a race issue at its core. This is a statism issue. It is a power issue. It is an authority issue. Yes, I know that it disproportionately affects minorities, but making this into a race issue is only pointing to a symptom of the issue. The root cause is statism. As the backwards song Self-Ownership says, for example, when a cop's shooting a black man, you focus on the racism, ignoring all the statism. Holding signs, rioting is not about to save him, because you must have forgot that that's the power that you gave them. Thank you for listening to the show this week. As always, I need to thank my favorite upcoming videographer, Jessica, for her help with the show. For the show notes to this episode, where I put links and other information that's been on this show, go to thelavaflow.com/112. I've got 2 new supporters this week. Dwayne G. and Gil Elm both became $1 per episode supporters through Patreon. Guys, that is such a huge help. Thank you both so much. You rock. Thanks to Dwayne, Gil, and all of my awesome supporters, I am at $289.50 per episode, or 57.9% of the way towards my next goal of $500 per episode. Thank you for all of your support, guys, really. Now remember, when I hit this next goal, I'm going to be upping the content that I bring you from half an hour per week to a full hour. I know that you want more content from me, and trust me, I really want to give it to you. So add your pledge today to help me bring you twice the lava flow that you're getting today. So exercise your free market muscles by going to thelavaflow.com/support and giving a per episode donation of as little as $1 an episode using Federal Reserve notes through Patreon or Bitcoin through Coinbase. I want to be able to bring you more content soon, so make sure to add your donation today to help make that happen. I also have one new Apple podcast review this week. It's actually from a few weeks ago, but it just now showed up on my feed for some reason. C. Lewis Thomp said, "Lava, go. Roger is knowledgeable and challenges my worldview with every podcast. He will captivate you for the entirety of his show. I've listened to every episode." Thanks so much, C. Lewis. I love hearing from people who've listened to all of my shows. Except for maybe the first 2 episodes. They were pretty bad when I go back to listen to them now. And if you have a minute and you want to hear your review read right here on this show, please go to thelavaflow.com/Apple and leave me a rating and a review. All the cool kids are doing it. Thank you to everyone who's left me a rating and a review so far. You guys rock. To all of you who haven't, can you guys help me out and go leave a review for me? Go to thelavaflow.com/Apple to do that now. Until next time, keep striking the root.
Thank you for listening to The Lava Flow at thelavaflow.com. Don't miss an episode. Subscribe now at thelavaflow.com/subscribe. This has been a Pax Libertas Productions podcast.